Hey y'all, in this video I'll be teaching you how to do lure walking with your dog. So please stay tuned. I first start off in my living room, then I move off to a hallway. After that I show you how I apply these concepts outside. So remember y'all, this is not a sprint, it is a marathon. Take your time, do not spend too much time training, and make sure that you're having fun with your dog. Stay tuned. Alright y'all, let's get started with lure walking. So the very first thing you're going to do with lure walking is choose the area you're going to practice in. I'm actually going to change my area and go to a hallway in a second, but I started off in my living room. I have my treats and I have my dog on the side I want her to be. Now, this is called lure walking for a reason. You're going to be luring your dog or treating them so much that they definitely understand that you have treats in your hand or near your hand. I like to keep treats in my hand at my core, or sometimes if I'm treating a lot, I just put my hand back in my treat pouch fast. Either way is fine. Often though, you will see me have treats in my hand and holding it at my core. It really depends on how you like to hold your treats. So the very first thing y'all are going to do to get started with lure walking is what I'm doing right here. You're going to take one step back and forth in your area, and you're going to give your dog a treat at every single step. It is overkill, yes, but we are teaching our dogs that we are literally treat dispensers. Every step we take, you're going to go ahead and drop a treat. Drop a treat. Drop a treat. Now, if your dog is jumping on you and things like that, you can go ahead and wait for them to stop jumping before you give a treat. But the idea is you're just reinforcing them for keeping up pace with you. There isn't much to distract them right now, which is why Sashi's so into it. But this is what you want. You don't want your dog to be so distracted when you first start this off. You want them to really understand what you want. This is how I want you to walk outside. I want you to walk near me. Now, depending on the height of your dog and the height of yourself, bending over to give treats can be a pain in the ass, especially if your dog is really small. So I highly recommend looking into other ways you can reinforce your dog. So you can reinforce your dog with a spoon of peanut butter or wet food. You can also do a squeezy pouch, like this is actually a baby food pouch that has pureed dog food in it. These are different ways you can reinforce really short dogs. And as you can see, I am now reinforcing my dog with a spoon of peanut butter, and that eliminates the need for me to have to bend over. This is really helpful for people that have short dogs, and it saves your back, trust me. So you may have noticed that I am now giving Sashi a treat about every 3 to 4 steps now, because I really felt like she had it down really well at one step. So now I'm stretching it. Can you still do the same thing even though the reinforcement is not immediate? And she is still keeping pace with me. This was the point of doing one step and treat, to really shape the behavior we want. And now I'm in a new area and I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm counting in my head the amount of steps I'm taking. I'm taking about 3 to 5 steps right now. And after those steps are completed, I immediately say yes and give her a treat for keeping up with me. Just like so. The most important aspect about lure walking is that as I give my dog a treat, I am continuously moving. I am not stopping to give her a treat. I really want y'all to practice this inside too. Practice giving your dog a treat and still moving, because realistically you want to be able to give your dog a treat on the move, so you aren't really halting the walking for them. You want them to enjoy the walk, and the best way for a dog to enjoy the walk is them to continue to walk. So this is why I'm treating her and moving. I'm still reinforcing her every 3 to 5 steps. And again, you can either hold treats in your hand at your core, or you can try having no treats in your hand and just digging in your pouch when it's time to give your dog a treat. I'm saying either or because you may find that you may not need to have lures in your hand at first. And eventually you want to move away from having treats in your hand to convince your dog to walk next to you. But for learning purposes, we're going to do whatever we can to get our dogs to do the right thing, and then gradually taper off to harder, which is no treats in the hand. So right here you can see that she's definitely following me. I have treats in my core, and now I'm only treating her once every 20 steps, whatever steps it takes for me to make that full arc around this hallway. I want y'all to practice this just like this, and then eventually try this out with no lure. Again, no treat in your hand, nothing in your hand until you're ready to give reinforcement. That is the ultimate, most advanced way to practice loose leash skills. But at first, have a lure in your hand. Now let me move to a more difficult environment. All right, y'all, now I am outside, and the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I do pressure and return. Remember, pressure and return is always in play. If your dog is pulling, you stop. When they are not pulling, that's when you can start trying lure walking or loose leash walking. And now that I feel confident that she's not really pulling too much, she's not going to pull, now I feel confident to go into lure walking in my driveway. If she does pull, I stop and wait for her to return to me, and then I continue to walk. But if she's not pulling at all, I just continuously walk. I keep moving if she's not pulling. And she's not really pulling that much right here in my driveway. And this is why I chose my driveway. I highly recommend choosing areas that are easier to your dog to succeed in. So the driveway is easy for my dog to succeed in over the sidewalk in front of my house. And the sidewalk in front of my house is easier for my dog to succeed at versus the sidewalk at my neighbor's house. You want to break down your environment to where your dog is really going to succeed. And I am still counting about 3 to 5 steps. However, when you change environments, you may want to go back to doing one-step treat, and then gradually make your way back to 3 to 5 steps before treating your dog. Another thing that I am reinforcing Sashi for, along with the steps, is her actually offering me eye contact randomly as I walk her. Her offering eye contact is actually a very powerful behavior. That means that she is pacing herself and trying to not walk in front of me. So yes, I am giving her treats every 3 to 5 steps, and I'm also reinforcing her for just giving me eye contact. I want you to do both. I want you to reinforce your dog every 3 to 5 steps, and also try to reinforce as much as possible when they offer you eye contact, as often as you would like to reinforce that. And she pulled, so I stopped. And when she came back to me, I gave her a treat and I kept on walking. That is how you use pressure and return in combination with lure walking. If your dog pulls, you stop and then reinforcing, and you keep walking. The keep walking part is double reinforcing. The walk continues if they come back to you. And right here she's pulling again. Right there, she was actually barking at my neighbor's toddler. But she did come back to me, so I went ahead and reinforced that. And to recap where I'm at, I am reinforcing Sashi every 3 to 5 steps, and I'm also reinforcing her sometimes for giving me offered eye contact. And remember, I am also reinforcing her and moving at the same time. I am not stopping to give her treats. I want y'all to practice that as best as possible too. I want y'all to practice giving your dog a treat as they are moving. you're not only giving your dog a treat after they pull, you're giving your dog a treat every 3 to 5 steps. And if you're going to give them a treat every 3 to 5 steps, I want you to try your best to keep moving as you give the treat, just like I'm doing right here. The reason being is because, yes, the treat is reinforcement, but the ultimate reinforcement for loose leash walking, y'all, is the walk. The walk is the most reinforcing aspect of this entire behavior. It is a life reward. It is a real life reward. So I am rewarding my dog by double by giving her reinforcement for walking with me and continuously moving with her. And I hope that made sense. And this is lure walking, y'all. You are reinforcing your dog every few steps. And again, those steps will increase or decrease depending on the difficulty. The steps between the treat, of course. You can also reinforce for eye contact if they're giving that to you, because that is the ultimate great behavior, ultimate offered behavior. If they're giving you eye contact, they're not pulling. And of course, you can give them a treat if they come back to you after they pull. So one common issue a lot of people run into is the yo-yo effect, where the dog pulls, they come back, they get a treat, they go back, and then maybe pull again, they come back, get a treat, and then maybe they pull again and come back and get a treat. And this can be very frustrating to deal with. This is what makes lure walking hard. I highly recommend, if you ever run into this issue when you're practicing outside, I want you to really consider the circumstances. So for my dog Sashi, when I cross the street to this other area, it's an area we have not practiced in a long time. It's really hard for her to practice her lure walking over here. Secondly, I have been doing this with her for about 15-20 minutes already, so it's getting kind of old and she may be getting a little tired of doing the exercise, which is, and she may be defaulting to her default behavior, which is just sniffing things. Also, my treat value may not be high enough, and the area that we're in may be a little bit too distracting. That being said, what I often do whenever I run into this issue is I actually start walking back the way I came, like I did right there, to try to get some wins in an area we already walked. So since we went back the way we came, she's more likely to walk with me because she's already sniffed this area. And I'm just going to reinforce this area and go back and forth and not go past where she keeps on pulling towards. If she kept on pulling in one direction, even though she's coming back to me, I'm going to probably mark that in my head as an area to come back to later. So to reiterate, if the dog is continuously pulling, meaning you keep on having to do pressure and return, pressure, return, pressure, return, it's like a yo-yo effect. Your dog keeps pulling, coming back, going forward, pulling, coming back, then the direction that you're going into may be too hard right now. And there may be a few reasons why it's too hard. But it is not your goal to try to tackle everything in one session. So I recommend making a map in your head of your neighborhood on what is easy and what is hard. So for example, if the easy area is the sidewalk in front of my house and the hard direction starts at the sidewalk across the street, then I'm going to make sure to gradually include the hard area in my sessions, but not all at once. So maybe during the session, I'm focusing on the sidewalk in front of my house, and then maybe a few feet of the hard area, and then the next session, a few more feet, then the next session, a few more feet, and then gradually including more and more feet, depending on how she's conquering it and how she's doing. And then eventually I will have a pretty much complete walk. You know, can I reach the end of my block? Can I go around the whole block using this method? And you can. It just takes gradual, obtainable steps, making sure you really take your time and making sure that you're not going in a direction that is too hard for your dog at first. And y'all, that is lure walking. Here's some final notes. Everything under the umbrella of loose leash walking can be difficult. It's one of the hardest things to train. We want you to try to make gradual progress versus trying to do everything in one session. My best advice is to follow the videos and really making sure you're choosing the environment that's easiest for your dog to train in, which is inside, of course. Really practicing inside and making sure you get your criteria set inside for your dog and reinforcing them well. And then once they get it done really well inside, then you can take it outside. But once you take it outside, y'all, you do not have to go on a full-on walk. When you take it outside, you can just practice in front of your house and then gradually increase that distance over time, just like I'm doing in front of my house right here. And then gradually I would increase the distance of this lure walking training to include more of the route I want to go, and then eventually I will have my whole route under lock. And I hope all that makes sense. So the whole point is, y'all, gradual steps, not all at once. And make sure you have the proper equipment for your dog and you're comfortable with it. Make sure you have high value treats. And y'all, that is it. So good luck. Make sure you ask plenty of questions, and please post videos of your loose leash walking so Gio and I can help y'all out. Anyway, have a great day. See y'all later.